there. My name is Suki Suxon, and you are listening to GASP, Ghost Adventures and Spooky Phenomena. Tonight, things are a little different. If you haven't noticed, you can see me. And, even better, you can see Goose. Come here, baby. Come here. Come here. Say hi. Yeah. You want to say hi into the microphone? No, she's all loves and kisses. We say hello for first time ever from our new spooky home. Is that where you were running up here from? Were you spooked out by the ghosties? It's so nice here. Where were we? Yes. Good dawn or good dusk to you all. Welcome to the Spook Show, where we dive deep into the strange and unusual, the spooky and straight peculiar. Tonight, we are discussing the age-old monster we all know and love. Well, maybe not love, but absolutely lust over. The vampire. This evening, I have various variants and origins of the blood-sucking sex fiend that seems to belong to not just one place, but rather the whole wide world. So spill for a spell and let us slip into something spooky, shall we? I am so excited to do this episode because I wanted to do this episode in October, but that didn't happen. Ghosts happened. I was living in a house recently that I will share more on in a later episode because it's just a whole can of worms. But it was very haunted. It was very dark energy. And it was just a lot. I was having videos disappear. Not videos. I was not able to record video at all. Could only, it's nice. Figure it out here. So that should just go to show. It's fine. We'll leave it. That it was just weird over there. I was having audio disappear. Or just be super messed up. And there was many episodes where I was just recording 2, 3, 4, sometimes 5 times. A lot. But I'm in a new house and it's still haunted, but it's not evil. And I'm so excited to learn more about it and the spirits that reside here and the people that lived here before and share it all with you, of course. But for now, to roll on through. I guess, everything happens in its time and in its place. And this episode, it turns out, it wanted to come out now and not then. And that's okay, because it's perfect for the holidays. Rolling right into something trendy and relative, and that is vampires. Vampires, you say? Christmas? Yes. In fact, it's not just me. It was either last year or 2 years ago. I went to go see Dracula, the ballet, at the Opera House here in Denver, and God, it was so magical and spooky and divine, and I miss it. It's not coming back this year. Instead, it's stupid Nutcracker, which we hate, and because it's just so problematic. Anyways, moving on. But instead, what should come out in movie theaters and right on Christmas, but Nosferatu, which is heavily connected to Dracula, in which we're doing a vampire episode, and we're going to talk about Dracula, and we're going to talk about Nosferatu, and we're going to talk about a bunch of other vampires found in other local lores and legends from all over around the world. It's going to be really, really good. So I hope you're excited. I'm excited. I've been waiting a long time to do this. I had it written for a while. But this was its true birth date, and we gotta respect that. So I hope you enjoy this episode about vampires and this brief discussion about Nosferatu and Dracula, which came first, which copied who? Yes, all that and more coming up next with me, your ghostess, who you can see now. I'm not just a ghost. I'm always a ghost, but it's fine. This is why I write a script, because I get very sidetracked. But it's okay. I'm excited. Video on vampires. Ah! Sorry. We'll bring it back down. But yeah, I just wanted to give you guys a little update, let you know what was going on, why we disappeared, but why we're back and what we're doing. So I hope you enjoy. Coming up next, we're going to discuss Dracula, Nosferatu, but first, the story that inspired it all. The fictional one, as well as the real life person. Don't you go anywhere. The Vampire. A story that inspired Dracula. Well, inspired Bram Stoker to write Dracula. But who wrote The Vampire? If you were watching our season 3 premiere episode in its 2-part entirety with the devilish and delicious Alabaster or Nat Higgins, then you will know that The Vampire was actually written during an opium and orgy-filled weekend with the one and only Mary Shelley. Also with her husband, Percy Shelley, and her stepsister, Claire Claremont, and her lover, Lord Byron, and then also their friend, Jean Polidori. Yeah. And maybe their kids, they were brother cousins. It's a whole thing. You gotta go back and listen. But that's a little gist. Sexy little weekend, opium, and German horror stories. Little contest unfolded, and boom, Mary Shelley wrote Frankenstein, or at very least constructed the concept in that weekend, and then wrote it shortly after. And her husband, Percy Shelley, helped her get it published. Mwah. Beautiful. We talked about that and a lot of very interesting random Mary Shelley stuff. and a couple bunny trails about sex and religion. It was a good episode. You should go see it. Listen to it. Anyways, who knows who wrote The Vampire? Again, you gotta go back and listen to the whole thing. Okay? Just kidding. Technically, on the books, it's John Polidori. The friend who was like a doctor who went with them and he was doing opium with them and they're all kind of like begging. For those who aren't watching, some hand gestures. But technically, it was actually originally told by Lord Byron that weekend. Yeah. It was thought up and told by Lord Byron for their spooky scary story contest. And then I guess John Polidori was like, I want to be a writer. I feel like I could have fucked that up harder than him. So I'm gonna. I'm guessing it was like not as sexy kinda. And then John like zhuzhed it up, you know what I'm saying? Added some details, got a little gay with it, like made it better. But it's just kind of funny. Oh, we'll get to it. I don't remember anything. But yes. So Lord Byron originally came up with it. Polidori ended up tweaking it and then ended up publishing it under his name in 1819, which is like cringe. But it didn't really do that well because Mary Shelley published Frankenstein. Well, it was originally, I believe it was The Birth of Prometheus or something like that. It was originally called something else. It was all about like man trying to become God and having his creation ended up like ruining him and then like chasing him his whole life and trying to kill him kind of thing. You know that. But that got published in 1819 as well. And it was absolutely wickedly. Hello? Keenan? All right, we're back. Sorry about that. Just doors opening and closing on their own. It's fine. Where were we? Polidori. Yes. Polidori tweaked the story, posted it. Not some 21st century shit. Published it, and kind of took credit. But it really wasn't his idea. But it didn't matter because Mary Shelley is a fucking genius and invented her own. She invented sci-fi, okay? And people fucking loved it. And they were obsessed with it. And they were like, ew, this is weird and spooky. And like also literally incorporating all of these very new, modern at that time themes and ideas and concepts about like bringing or causing like an electric current using a chemical reaction and trying to possibly use that electric current to make something come alive because people were learning that we have electricity running through us and you can possibly jumpstart a heart that way and chemistry. And it was exciting and it was really fucking smart and it was really clever and creative and just out of this world. People loved it. They loved her. Snaps. So do we. Anyways, so it didn't really become popular. It was kind of more of like this like niche story. Like, I feel like the best way to kind of relate it to is like in these days, right? Quotations. It's like when you wear like a niche band tee, like, I don't know, Sonic Youth, or I don't fucking know, The Cramps, just something kind of in its own little corner, away from the main media. And it was a good story. People enjoyed it, obviously, because one little goth hipster into that niche picked it up, fell in love with it, and that little weirdo goth kid, yeah, that was Bram Stoker. Because in May of 1897, so God, like 80 something years later, 82. God, I'm bad at math. 82 years later, Bram Stoker comes across it and he's like, yes. Daddy, okay. And he takes this idea and this concept of a vampire and he like really puts his style on it. Like, it's not just like a creature, it's this person that was a warrior and his wife was stolen and killed and he was ruined by his heartbreak, and over the oceans of time he finally finds like her doppelganger, basically, but he thinks it's her and like chases her down, but there's like her boyfriend is really kind of like the middleman that gets him there. The boyfriend, I forget, honestly. I think the boyfriend was going to check out like real estate, or he's like a lawyer or something. So he goes to see Dracula in Transylvania, in Romania, and it's, I'm talking about Romania and like cultural, and part of that is like real life that Bram actually picked up from his own studies. And like Dracula was not just a one-bone dog. That wasn't a real phrase, but you know what I mean. It wasn't one thing that inspired it. It was lots of things. It was the Vampire Story by John Polidori, but it was also this article he read by this woman named Emily Gerard, and she was writing about Romanian folklore and like the culture and legends and beliefs, and how like they so deeply, or no, sorry, I'm thinking of someone else. Somebody else also wrote about these cultures and how they very deeply affect the everyday language. It's very fascinating. But so Emily Gerard is actually the first one to use the term Nosferatu. Nosferatu is a loose term to translate to what we would imagine a vampire. Well, maybe not what we would imagine, but like when looking at, we would consider to be a vampire. And it was this creature that's described about and shows up in like songs and old stories and folklore and legends. And it's this vampiric creature, being, cryptid, monster with fangs who sucks blood and can like control people who they've like sucked blood from, like kind of have that connection. They feasted on then they can control you or they kill you. And the term used for that was Nosferatu. And it's like kind of like this demon. Sorry, I'm getting all jumbled up here, but I'm just so excited. But yes, so Emily Gerard uses this term Nosferatu in this article, describing it, translating to vampire, having the vampire story as this kind of cultural reference point in Europe going forward, because it's been around for like 80 years now. And it's not super popular, but it's like, it's known about. And so that makes me think even that like Lord Byron, like maybe he was Romanian or something, or maybe he had some kind of family there, like the connection, or maybe somewhere else. We'll get into that. But it's just really interesting. And so anyways, Bram Stoker actually uses the term Nosferatu kind of early on in the book. Like when, I can't remember his name because he's not really important. Mina's boyfriend, the lawyer, who basically has a photo of Mina, and then Dracula sees her and he goes, my love, my love. And then he moves to London to try and find her and track her down and like separate her from, I think it's John. Is it John? I don't know. Who cares? Sorry, he just makes me mad. He makes me mad the whole time. The story, the book, the movie, everything. He sucks. He does bad. So anyways, that happens. People fucking lose their minds. They're like, what? This is insane. Backstory. Fucking sex. Ooh, inner creature. Inner species sex. Ooh, what? Monster. But he's sexy and he's rich and he's like cool. Like Bram, he fucked that shit up. You know what I mean? Like he was tight. Everybody loved it so much that eventually it gets made into adaptations. Well, actually, in a rather unorthodox or unofficial manner. It was not so much seen or as accepted as a sequel or an adaptation because it was a German expressionist film made in 1922 with basically the same plot, pretty much the same characters, and like almost the exact same villain. And that movie was called Nosferatu. Dun, dun, dun. I mean, the themes are really similar. Like, I don't know. I think Nosferatu, it is like German expressionist, whereas, and it is a film, but it wasn't trying to be Dracula. It was trying to be something different, but it wasn't different enough. So instead, it's just like a toy on Dracula. You know what I mean? Like he wasn't even going to change the name of the guy, but he was going to change the way he looked. He's like changing people's characters' names, but it's like the same sequence. And yeah, it was fucked up. Agreed. But I'm really excited to see Nosferatu in theaters. So, that being said, if you go see it in theaters and you're like, and you've seen Dracula or read the book, and you're like, wait a minute, I'm confused. This is the same. It's the same. Yeah. Yeah. Starts in like like Transylvania, has to come in on a ship. Pretty sure it literally brings dirt too. And he's like calling out to this girl in her dreams and like trying to hypnotize her. And then he shows up and like there's like she has a boyfriend that's in the middle of it too. And then he just starts like vampiring people, plaguing people, infecting them and shit. And then like the girl's like, I think I'm in love with you. Maybe, right? Soulmates. It's just weird. But I'm still really excited to see it. Because it will be different. It'll be different in the way that it like looks. It'll be like it's more dark. German expressionist, just kind of moody, almost like a little more vague feeling. But it'll be cool. It'll be dope. But yeah, Nosferatu actually is a Romanian word that loosely translates to that term of the vampire creature. And it was I wanted to read you this. This is actually Emily Gerard's actual like a little snippet of her article that she wrote. It was published in 1885, so like 7 years after the vampire, and it was called Transylvania Superstitions. As well as she also posted this in her travelogue called The Land Before the Forest. Which, another quick side note, Transylvania is actually Latin for beyond the forest, which is kind of like trying to hint at like it being like a mystical place, and it's like beyond nature, like something else, something deeper, something spooky and mysterious. And it is. And you'll find out. But so this is just her article really fast. Okay, here's what she wrote. More decidedly evil, however, is the vampire or Nosferatu, in which every Romanian peasant believes as firmly as he does in heaven or hell. There are two sorts of vampires, living and dead. The living vampire is in general the illegitimate offspring of two illegitimate persons. What does that mean? But even a flawless pedigree will not ensure anyone against the intrusion of a vampire into his family vault. Since every person killed by a Nosferatu becomes likewise a vampire after death, and will continue to suck the blood of other innocent people till the spirit has been exorcised. Either by opening the grave of the person suspected and driving a stake through the corpse, or firing a pistol shot into the coffin. Interesting. In very obstinate cases, it is further recommended to cut off the head and replace it in the coffin with the mouth. Filled with garlic, or to extract the heart and burn it, strewing the ashes over the grave. And then, like I was saying earlier, she wasn't even the first to use the word. It's referring to vampires, and it's also found in this 1865 German language article by Wilhelm Schmidt, and he's the guy who he was kind of talking about it more. It was in this like Austro-Hungarian magazine, and some even believe that Emily came across this article and she kind of like piggybacked on it, expanded further on like her own, or like shared her own opinions on the core content of the article, but not the actual surface. Did I flip that? Anyways. But what's kind of crazy that I came upon on accident is that Schmidt's article also mentions this legendary Scholomance by name, which I dug a little deeper. I was like, what is that? A Scholomance is very intriguing. I can't get too deep because I want to, and there's a good amount, but I have a good amount of vampire stuff to tell you, so it's gonna have to wait. So that'll be for a later episode, don't you worry. Because Scholomance is a secret school, either in Transylvania or near Transylvania. It's basically a school of black magic, and it's found deep within the realm of legend and lore of Romania. It's believed to be a complete rumor, like a total myth. But then, some stories account of tales from there. Some people had claimed to have gone there or seen it. So it's like in the zeitgeist. So weird, so spooky. But yeah, wait till 2025. We're going to talk about it, okay? Because they learned black magic, spells, symbols, lots of other witchy shit, okay? They learned about the mysteries of nature and how to control nature and control the weather, as well as life and, you guessed it, death. And so, I'm also wondering, did Bram know about this place? Did Lord Byron know about this place? Because it's interesting. And I almost wonder if maybe this is where the myth and lore of vampires came from, for Romania at least. I mean, I don't know. I don't know. It gets so weird. Okay. So, Bram Stoker was actually inspired by the vampire, first and foremost, which led him down a rabbit hole of mysticism and magic and monsters. But he was also inspired by the story of a man, a real life man. A man so obsessed with killing and even devouring his enemies. So much so that people thought him to be God, or at the very least, supernaturally evil. Vlad the Impaler up next. Vlad Dracula III, or otherwise known as Vlad the Impaler, later to inspire Dracula. Vlad III, Dracula, also known as Vlad the Impaler, was actually a 15th century ruler of Wallachia, a region that's now part of Romania. Born in Sighisoara, Transylvania, which is now Romania, between 1431 and they believe 1436, it's kind of unknown. Vlad was a voivode, or a military governor, and basically, I guess it wasn't ongoing, but he was elected 3 separate times. I don't know if maybe he was having fighting problems with people, but he was elected 3 times, so people really liked him. And he busted ass. He chomped that shit. He was really, really good. And he moved up, and he moved up fast. He's actually considered a national hero in Romania for defending his people from foreign invaders. However, his reputation has actually kind of become a villainous one as it spread through Europe all through the 15th century due to the printing press and propaganda pamphlets written by his enemies. But some of it was true, so they had a reason to be scared. But when you're on his team or he's on your team, of course you're gonna fucking love him. Like, he's winning. But all that really matters is that he was a bloody warlord who eventually got to the point of so much power and prestige. He was basically ruling like a king. And anytime they had a battle, it was bloody. He wouldn't just kill people. He would find the most creative and demented ways to obliterate people in battle, to the point where blood is spewing and spraying and pouring out of them. And he was often recounted for drinking the blood of his enemies straight out of the bone. So good. And that wasn't all. Live or unalived, he loved to impale them. A lot of times that's how he would kill them. But he was really handy with weapons. He had all kinds of things. But what he would do is he would bring them all back and skewer them like a little chicken skewer. But gross. And anytime anyone was passing by or walking in, they knew immediately who the fuck's house it was. Vlad Daddy. Vladdy. Don't mess with him. And yeah, that's basically it. He was just bloody, terrifying, so much so that the people he ruled over, they loved him, but they feared him. And the fact that he drank people's blood, he did it in such a way through the battles all the time that people genuinely thought that he needed it for food and nourishment. And they were scared of him. They thought maybe he was like a god. He was so good at killing. So they just went along with it. I said, okay, Vladdy, we love you. Thanks. Now, Vlad's nickname, Dracula. Yep, real life Dracula. Real life nickname, Dracula. It actually comes from the Latin word Draco, meaning dragon, which refers to his father's membership in the Order of the Dragon, which was a medieval Romanian secret society for powerful people. And it was in medieval Romania that Vlad was also known as the Dracula, which means son of the dragon. And that's really where the line stops, is that he drank blood who knows how many times. He liked to kill people, which a lot of people in history did. And that he had a nickname, Dracula, because his dad was in the Order of the Dragon. And dragon is Dracula. Boom. Boom. There you go. Sorry. Short and sweet. But don't worry. We're gonna have an episode all about the Scholomance, the Black Magic School, and this little Order of the Dragon. I'm curious. I gotta know. What's up with that? What is it? How do you get in? Can I be in it? Do I want to be in it? Coming in the future. But up next, we're going to talk about real life vampires. The same myth busters, okay? We're believing in them. Up first, it's the Draugr. Draugr. The Norse vampire. Goose is joining us for this one. Up next, the Draugr. I don't know if I'm saying that right. It's Draugr. 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 Droger. Or Draugr. I think it's Draugr. Draug. Which is Old Norse. Is an undead creature from the Scandinavian saga literature and folktales. Commentators extend the term Draug to the undead in a medieval literature, even if it is never explicitly referred to as such in the text, and designated them as a Hogbui or a barrow dweller, or an Aptriganga, which literally means again walker. Do you need more space? You want me to scoot this shit over? Is that better? Sorry. She loves kisses. Literally meaning again walker. A Draugr live in their graves or royal palaces, often guarding treasure buried with them. In their burial mound, they are revenants or animated corpses with corporeal body rather than ghosts, which possess intangible spiritual bodies. Which, going back to the Romanian kind of talk of vampires and what to do with them and how to treat them and how and stuff. You're distracting me. Mare. I don't know what I was talking about. Oh, they were. It sounded like they were describing vampires like they were ghosts, because part of how you get rid of them is you have to go to their grave where their corpse still is and stab it with a stake, whereas in like Americanized vampire movies and stories and whatever, it's like the physical body changes magically and becomes this like immortal being's body. And what are you doing? And they sleep in coffins, but like in houses, especially big abandoned houses. And then you have to stab them while they're sleeping. But in Romanian, it's like they're a ghost with a physical body. And like if you go to their grave, you're gonna find, like, even during the night when they're running around, if you go to their grave, you're gonna find their dead body rotting, waiting there. So weird. And this is kind of similar to that. It's saying that it can be more like a zombie, or it can be the animated corpses with like the corporeal body, and it's like gross. Or no, instead of ghosts, which possess spiritual bodies. But it can also be defined as a ghost spirit, especially the dead inhabitant of a cairn. That's the quote. Whatever a cairn is. So that was kind of confusing to me. But often the Draugr is regarded not so much as like a ghost, but a revenant, or a borrow-wight. And it's actually it's referred to as a borrow-wight in the 1869 translation of Greta's Saga, long before J.R.R. Tolkien employed this term in his novels. Yeah. Lord of the Rings fans out there, I hope you're stoked. Lord of the Rings stuff. Yeah, so the Old Norse vampire is kind of very similar to the Barrow White you find in Lord of the Rings, or at least in the novels. I don't know if the movies are the same. I think it's the same. Yeah, like the weird mud guys. And it's just so funny. I had Alabaster on for Madame Frankenstein, that episode where we talked about Mary Shelley and the birth of Frankenstein. And we talked about these mud creatures and how, like, Mary Shelley's original version of making the monster was really similar to how the mud creature things were made. Patched together with a bunch of sticks and rocks and mud. Conglomerated together, all mushy. Gross. This is like its cousin, I guess. But actually, there's a little bit of difference. Like, so it's a ghost with a physical body. It's a corporeal ghost with a tangible, physical, real body. It's not just an imagination or an imago. And in tales, it's often kind of shared in the story as being like this second death. To live as this thing, it's to live as death. It's to have a second death constantly all the time. So it's not fun. It's not like sexy. You know what I mean? Today and all the noises. Funnily enough, in Old Norse, the term Dragor also meant like a tree trunk or like dry dead wood. And in poetry, it could refer to a man or a warrior. And Old Norse poetry would often use these terms for trees to represent humans, especially in like myths, like referencing the myth that the god Odin and his brother like created the first humans. And they named him, sorry, that just threw me for a loop. They named him Ask and Embla. Ask and Embla from trees. And then boom, there's this connection between like the idea of a felled tree's trunk and that of a dead man's corpse. I kind of get it actually, because like when a tree trunk is like stripped, it starts to kind of rot and like disintegrate away, and like bugs come and eat on it. It does kind of look like a body disintegrating. If you've seen one before, I haven't, but in movies. But yeah, so the vampire side of the Dragor, it's conceived as being a type of vampire by folktale anthologist Andrew Lang, as in late 1897, because of the idea that further pursued by more modern commentators. So the Dracula, how it's vampire, it's not, the focus isn't on the blood sucking, but rather the contagiousness and transmittable nature of this state of being. That's what is kind of like very vampiric. And like how they turn each other is by like attacking each other and kind of like, it's almost like a venom. And sometimes it becomes an outbreak, like a straight up plague, which sounds scary. A very speculative case of vampirism is that of Glamour, who was asked to tend sheep for a haunted farmstead and was subsequently found dead with his neck and every bone in his body broken. It has been surmised by commentators that Glamour, by contamination, was turned into an undead drinker by whatever being was haunting the farm. So they're like ghosts. They're like zombie ghosts. And they can make you into another vampire. Or another zombie ghost. Which I feel like zombies can do. Yeah. So, I don't know. You guys let me know. Vampire or zombie? So I was kind of like, I'm confused. Because it's coming up Vampyre. But to me, it smells of zombie. You let me know what you guys think. Anyways, coming up next, we've already covered this one just a little bit, but I saved all the juicy details for this episode. We talked about this for our Erie Land episode, or our Erie Ireland episode. This is the Abhartek, the Irish vampire. Well, that's my gasp for you all. Don't you worry, we're not done yet. You're going to get a whole nother episode. But for this one, we're cutting it right there. And for the next episode, Vampyre Variants Part 2, we are going to talk about the Irish vampire, the Abhartek, and the Chinese vampire, the Jingyinchi. I think I butchered that. Along with a handful and a half of some real life vampire encounters people have had. So stay tuned for that. Don't forget to like and subscribe now that this is on YouTube. Hi. Please subscribe so that it can reach more spooky friends. Also, like, rate, review, comment, be kind. And don't forget to share this spookcast with all your spooky friends, because remember, sharing is caring, and caring is scaring. I'm your hostess, Sophie Sexton, and your co-goostess, Goose. And, yeah, stay tuned for that other episode, and I hope you guys enjoyed this one. Happy holidays, and go enjoy Terrifier 3 or Nosferatu, please. I know I will. I'm actually going to go see it with my niece, and I'm very excited. All right. Let me think. What else? If you have any spooky encounters yourself, any strange happenings, please don't forget to email them to the podcast at GASP, that's GASP,
period the, period midnight, period mystique, that's MYSTIQUE, at gmail.com. And yeah, you can follow along with us, get sneak peeks on upcoming episodes, see pictures I post for every episode, and all that. Send us thoughts, questions, comments, concerns, spooky stories to the podcast Instagram. That's at the Midnight Mystique. That's me. And you can also follow me. My personal dancer page is at Suki Suxen. That's SUKISUXEN. And don't forget, my spooks, to always keep it creepy. Essentially yours, Suki Suxen.
Yes.